6 months from now, your financial life can look completely different. You could know exactly where your money's going, be building real wealth, and making decisions without that low level money anxiety that follows most people everywhere. Not because you stumbled onto some secret, not because you suddenly started earning more, but because you finally built the right system in the right order. Now, if you have tried to fix your finances before, and most people watching this have, you already know how this usually goes. You download the budgeting app, you watch a few videos, you make a spreadsheet that looks incredibly organized for about 11 days, and then life happens and you quietly stop. Not because you gave up, because the system was not strong enough to survive real life. And here's the real reason that keeps happening. Psychologists call it the ostrich effect, the tendency to avoid information that makes us uncomfortable. Most of us do it with money without even realizing it. We never fully face the real numbers. And because we never fully face them, every attempt to fix things is built on a shaky foundation. The tools do not stick, the motivation fades, and we end up back where we started, assuming the problem is us. The problem is not discipline. The problem is not that you are bad with money. The problem is that you have been trying to build something without the right foundation. And when the foundation is missing, nothing sticks, no matter how hard you try. So here is what we are going to do. I'm going to show you exactly how to transform your financial life in 6 months by following a clear month-by-month plan. The right moves in the right order starting today. Let's start with month one. Month one, stop hiding from your money. Most people who decide they want to get serious about their finances think the first thing they should do is start investing. Open a brokerage account, pick some stocks, get their money working for them. And look, investing is absolutely part of this plan. But if you try to start there before you have done anything else, you're going to build on sand. You cannot grow what you do not yet understand. And most people genuinely do not understand what is happening with their money right now. Not really. So month one has one job: finding out exactly what is actually happening with your money, because you cannot fix what you keep refusing to look at. Let's start with your real take-home pay. Not your salary, not the number on your offer letter. What actually lands in your bank account after federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, Medicare, health insurance premiums, and any 401k contributions have already come out. For a lot of people, this number is genuinely surprising. Someone earning $65,000 a year might be taking home somewhere between $3,900 and $4,200 a month, depending on their state and their benefits. They have been mentally budgeting against $65,000 and actually living on closer to $47,000 to $50,000. That gap is where most of the confusion lives. Write that number down. Everything else gets built on top of it. Now your expenses: rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, car payment, gas, insurance, every subscription, including the ones from free trials you forgot to cancel, eating out, shopping, entertainment, all of it. And once you have added everything up, add 15% on top, because your life is not a spreadsheet. Car repairs happen, medical copays show up, annual subscriptions quietly renew. That 15% is not pessimism. It is honesty about how life actually works. Now, here is where this goes beyond basic budgeting. Once you have your real numbers, divide your take-home pay into 4 buckets. Fixed costs: rent, utilities, debt minimums, insurance, groceries, transportation, 50 to 60%. Investments: your 401k, Roth IRA, anything building your future, 5 to 10%. Savings goals, emergency fund, house down payment, anything you are genuinely working toward, another 5 to 10%. And guilt-free spending, eating out, hobbies, entertainment, whatever genuinely makes your life enjoyable, 20 to 35%. If your numbers look nothing like that right now, that is fine. These are not a pass or fail test. They are a compass showing you which direction to move. Right now, you are just finding out where you actually stand. But here is the part most financial plans skip entirely. And it is honestly the most important part of month one. Your spending is never just about spending, it is about what you value. And most people are spending heavily on things they do not actually value at all. I have a friend, let's call her Dana. She earns a solid income, works hard, and constantly feels like she has nothing to show for it. When we sat down and looked at her numbers, here is what we found. She was spending $340 a month on a car she only drove on weekends, 4 streaming services she rotated through one at a time, a phone upgrade on a payment plan every 18 months. None of it, not one thing, was something she said mattered to her when I asked what genuinely made her life better. Together, those things were absorbing nearly $700 a month. And meanwhile, she kept telling herself she could not afford to travel, which was the one thing that actually lit her up. That is what happens when you spend without intention. You fund a life that is not really yours. So think about what you actually love spending money on. Not what looks good, not what everyone around you seems to be buying. What genuinely makes your life better? Maybe it is travel. Maybe it is great food, real meals you look forward to, not Uber Eats at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday because you were bored. Whatever it is, that dial should be turned all the way up in your plan. And whatever you are spending on that you genuinely do not care about, the gym you have not visited since February, the subscription you keep because canceling feels like effort, turn those dials all the way down. The goal is not to spend less on everything. The goal is to spend boldly on what matters and cut ruthlessly on what does not. Most people have it completely backwards. One more thing before we move on, and this one is slightly uncomfortable, so stay with me. The stories you tell yourself about money. Things like, I am just not good with money. I need to earn more before I can start saving. People like me do not build wealth. These are not facts. They are invisible scripts running quietly in the background of every financial decision you make. Dr. Brad Klontz, a financial psychologist who has spent decades studying money behavior, found that most of our core money beliefs are formed before the age of 10, absorbed from the adults around us, from what we watched, from what was never discussed at all. Take 10 minutes and write down everything that surfaces when you think about money. Then ask yourself honestly, is this belief building my future or just something I absorbed a long time ago that has been running the show ever since? That is month one, not a single dollar move, just the truth, clearly in front of you for the first time. And that clarity, your real numbers, your real values, your real beliefs is the only foundation this plan can actually stand on, which brings us to what you build on that foundation first. Month two, buy yourself breathing room. Most people assume the next step is attacking debt or opening an investment account. Those feel like the moves that actually do something. But here is what happens when you skip what comes next. You make progress, you pay something down, you save a little, you get a little ahead, and then the car makes a noise, a medical bill arrives, something breaks in the apartment, and because you have no cushion, it goes on the credit card. Everything you built gets wiped out and you are starting over again. Month two stops that cycle. 1 month of your basic living expenses, your rent, utilities, groceries, gas, insurance, minimum debt payments, medication, childcare, phone bill, saved in a separate account. That is the target. Let me make that concrete. If your basic monthly expenses are $3,000, that is your number. If they are $2,000, that is yours. If they are $4,500, that is yours. Use your actual number from month one, not a rough guess. That amount sitting somewhere separate and accessible is what turns every future emergency from a crisis into an inconvenience. And here's why that distinction matters more than it sounds. Right now, if your car needs an $800 repair tomorrow, what happens? For most people, the credit card. And if you only make the minimum payments on that $800, which at 22% APR starts at just $25 a month, that repair takes over 4 years to pay off and ends up costing you nearly $1,200 by the time the interest is done running. A car repair that was supposed to cost $800 just became a $1,200 problem that followed you around for 4 years. With 1 month saved, that same repair is just $800. Annoying. Done. Not a setback. This is also the month where you give your money a destination. Most people have wishes about money. They want to be debt free, own a home, retire comfortably. But wishing and setting a financial goal are two completely different things. And most people have never actually done the second one. Think about how you set a New Year's resolution. You say, I want to get fit, but without a specific plan, which gym, which days, by when, it stays a wish. Your finances work exactly the same way. A wish floats. A financial goal has a number and a deadline attached to it, and that is what makes it real. So this month we set two types: short term, things achievable in the next 6 to 12 months, paying off a specific credit card, saving this emergency cushion, catching up on a bill that has been bothering you, and long term, buying a home, retiring without panic, building something your family actually benefits from. Write both down. A short term goal tells your money where to go each month. A long term goal tells it why. To build the emergency cushion fast, you are going temporarily aggressive with your spending this month. Temporarily, this is not a permanent lifestyle change. Cook at home more. Cancel subscriptions you have not actively used in the last 30 days. Hold off on non-essential purchases. Take whatever is left after your fixed expenses and send it to a separate account before you have a chance to spend it on something else. Where does it live? In a high-yield savings account at an FDIC-insured bank, completely separate from your everyday checking. In 2026, the best high-yield savings accounts are offering between 4 and 5% APY. The national average at traditional banks sits around 0.38%. To put that in real numbers, if your emergency cushion is $5,000, a traditional savings account earns you about $19 in a year. That same $5,000 in a high yield account earns you around $225. By putting your cushion in the right place, you are earning roughly 12 times more interest on money that is simply waiting. Open one online in about 10 minutes and name it something that makes it feel real. Just in case, breathing room, the floor. Whatever keeps you from touching it when you should not. If one full month in 30 days feels too aggressive, spread it across two. But be honest with yourself about whether that is genuine constraint or comfortable excuse. Because the faster you build this, the sooner everything else in this plan starts working properly. You have your foundation, you have your breathing room. And if this is helping you think about your finances differently, subscribe. We do this every single week. Now, the next step is to tackle something that has been quietly eating your progress the whole time, something that gets paid before you do every single month. It is time to deal with it directly. Month 3, stop letting debt eat first now, whether you like to hear it or not. High interest debt is one of the most dangerous things sitting in your financial life right now, not because of what you owe today, but because of what it is costing your future, especially if you are not paying at all or only paying the minimum. Every month you leave it alone, it grows. And while it grows, everything else you're trying to build is being quietly undermined from underneath. So what exactly is high interest debt? It is not all debt. A mortgage is debt, but it is typically low interest and comes with a tax advantage. It is not the enemy right now. Federal student loans sitting in the low single digits can wait their turn. High interest debt is the expensive kind. Credit cards, payday loans, buy now, pay later balances, personal loans, store cards. As a rule, anything sitting above. 8% interest is actively working against every other goal in this plan. That is what we are focused on. So before we do anything else, get everything on paper. Every single debt you have, write it all down. The balance, the APR, the minimum payment, and whether the account is current or behind. All of it at once in one place. The number in your head is almost always either better or worse than reality. Either way, you need to know exactly what you're dealing with. Then go through that list and circle everything sitting above 8%. Those are the ones we are attacking. Everything below that line keeps getting its minimum payment and nothing more for now. Now, here is why the expensive stuff cannot wait. Say you have $5,500 on a credit card at 22% APR, right around the 2026 national average. Your minimum payment starts at around $155 a month. Of that first payment, $101 goes straight to interest. Only $55 actually reduces your balance. Keep paying just the minimum, and it takes exactly 20 years to clear that $5,500. By the end, you will have paid over $9,000 in interest. That one balance, whatever originally bought it, ends up costing you $14,500 by the time the credit card company is finished with you. That is not a debt. That is a subscription to being behind. I know that seeing those numbers can feel overwhelming, but here is the thing. Overwhelming is what happens when there is no plan. The moment there is a plan, it becomes a problem with a solution. And this is the plan. Take your circled debts and list them from highest interest rate to lowest. Pay the minimum on every single one. Missing minimums damages your credit score and triggers penalty rates, so we are not doing that. But every extra dollar goes toward the highest interest first. Once that balance hits zero, everything you were putting toward it rolls directly into the next, then the next. This is the debt avalanche, mathematically the fastest way out because you're always attacking what costs you the most. Now, how much extra can you actually put toward this? Go back to your numbers from month one. Take your monthly take-home pay, subtract your fixed expenses, and whatever is left after your savings contribution is your debt attack number. Maybe it is $100 a month. Maybe it is $400. Whatever it is, that amount hitting your highest interest debt automatically every single month is what starts moving the needle. And one more thing before you move on. Call your credit card company today. Tell them how long you have been a customer and ask if they can reduce your APR. 5 minutes. Some will say no, some will say yes. And if even one drops your rate by 4 or 5%, that is real money staying in your pocket every single month going forward. High interest debt is not just something you owe. It is something that keeps quietly taking from your future until you decide to stop it. Month 3 is where you make that decision. And as that debt starts moving, as you actually watch the balance go down for the first time, something shifts. You start wondering what your money could be doing if it was not going to interest payments every month, which is exactly what month 4 is about. Month 4, put your money to work. There's a version of this conversation where I tell you to wait until every dollar of debt is gone before you invest a single cent. And honestly, the logic sounds reasonable. Why invest when debt is costing you 22%? But here is the thing. There is one type of investing that makes sense even while you are paying down debt. And if you skip it, you are walking away from a guaranteed return of up to 100%. So before we go any further, I want to split month 4 into 2 parts. The first is the investing you start right now, even with debt. The second is the investing you layer on once your high interest debt is under control. Part 1, the investing you start right now. The only investment that makes sense while you still have high interest debt is one that gives you a guaranteed return that beats what your debt is costing you. And that investment is your employer 401k match if your employer offers one. If they do not, part 1 does not apply to you, and you can skip straight to part 2. But if they do, this is non-negotiable. Your debt is costing you 22%. Your employer match gives you a guaranteed 50 to 100% return before the market does a single thing. And that money never touches your bank account. It comes out of your paycheck before it ever lands anywhere near you. You never see it. You never feel it. Your employer simply adds their contribution on top. Say your employer matches 50 cents for every dollar you contribute, up to 6% of your salary. If you earn $55,000 a year and contribute 6%, that is $3,300 from you and $1,650 from your employer added on top for free. Now, here is what most people never stop to think about. That $1,650 of free employer money, just that portion alone, growing at the market's historical average of 10% over 30 years, becomes over $310,000. You contributed nothing toward that $310,000. Your employer put it in, the market grew it, and you collected it. Combined with your own $3,300 annual contribution, the total pot grows to over $930,000 from just $148,500 of actual money contributed between you both. That is the match. That is why it cannot wait. Part two, the investing you add once high interest debt is under control. First, what is a Roth IRA? It is a retirement savings account the U.S. government makes available to ordinary Americans. You put money in after it has already been taxed. It grows in the market. And when you retire and take it out, you pay zero tax on any of the growth. Every dollar the market made for you, you keep entirely. Now, here is why it waits. Unlike the employer match, the Roth IRA offers no guaranteed return. It goes into the market, which historically averages around 7% annually after inflation. And 7% does not beat 22% debt. The math is that simple. Here's what that actually looks like in practice. Say you have $5,500 in credit card debt at 22%, and you decide to put $300 a month into a Roth IRA instead of attacking that debt. In the first year, your investment earns you around $117 at market growth, but that same $300 applied directly to your debt would have saved you nearly $954 in interest charges. You're over $835 worse off by choosing the Roth IRA over debt payoff. Every single month you make that choice, the gap widens. So the Roth IRA waits. Not forever, just until the expensive debt is handled. And when that moment comes, it becomes one of the most powerful tools available to an ordinary American. In 2026, you can contribute up to $7,500 a year, $8,600 if you are 50 or older. Put $300 a month into a Roth IRA starting at age 30. At 7% annual growth by age 65, you will have contributed $126,000 of your own money. The account will be worth approximately $540,000. That extra $414,000 comes out completely tax-free. That is not a loophole. That is the system working exactly as designed for ordinary people who use it. What goes inside both of these accounts? Keep it simple. Broad market index funds, or ETFs, collections of hundreds of stocks mirroring the overall market rather than trying to beat it. The S&P 500 has averaged around 10% annually over the last several decades, 7% after inflation. You're not trying to find the next big stock. You're trying to own a consistent piece of the entire market over time. One famous investing story, often attributed to Fidelity, says the customers with the best investment returns were not the most active traders. The ones checking daily, always adjusting, it was not them. It was the people who had forgotten they had an account. They set it up, automated their contributions, and never touched it. Time in the market beats timing the market every single time. Now, while part two, investing is starting, there is something else running alongside it. Remember, in month two, you saved 1 month of basic expenses. That was breathing room, enough to stop every emergency becoming new debt. But 1 month is not real security. The full target is 3 to 6 months. If your job is stable, 3 months is your goal. If your income is unpredictable, aim for 6. So as your high interest debt falls and part two investing begins, you are also still feeding that savings account. Start by putting more toward the emergency fund and less toward investing. As the fund grows, gradually shift the balance, more toward investing, less toward savings, until the emergency fund hits its full target. Then everything goes to investing. You do not have to choose between the two. You just run them together until one is done. You have breathing room, debt is being attacked, money is compounding in the background, but there is a ceiling on how far cutting and saving alone can take you. Month 5 is where we push through it. Month 5, stop only cutting back, start bringing more in. There's a floor on how much you can cut. You can cancel every subscription, stop eating out completely, drive the same car until it refuses to start, and still be underpaid. Expenses have a limit, income does not. At some point, you have to stop only making your life smaller and start working on what comes in. Start with your current job. There is a very good chance you're being paid less than your market value right now. And the only reason nothing has changed is that you have not had the conversation yet. Research by Linda Babcock at Carnegie Mellon found that people who negotiate their salaries earn significantly more over their careers than those who accept the first offer. And the gap compounds because every future raise and every future job offer is benchmarked against what you are currently making. One conversation handled well changes your trajectory for years. Before you say anything to anyone, find your real market rate. Glassdoor, Salary.com, LinkedIn salary data, and actual job postings in your city and industry. Find the real range for your specific role, your experience level, your location, then document your value. Specific result, specific contributions, real examples your manager can point to and defend upward. Then say this: I have been reflecting on my contributions over the past year. I have consistently delivered and named the specific results. Based on my research into current market rates for this role, I would like to discuss bringing my compensation to a target number. When can we find time to talk? That is it. Calm, specific, and direct. If they push back, stay in the conversation. Ask about a timeline, a bonus structure, extra PTO, remote flexibility, a training budget. Compensation is not only salary, and if your employer is simply not going to pay you what you're worth, start applying elsewhere. The average annual raise at the same company in 2026 sits around 3 to 4%. The average salary increase from switching jobs is closer to 10 to 20%. The leverage is in the move, not the wait. Beyond your primary income, think realistically about a side income, not a complicated business from scratch, something practical given your existing skills and time. Freelancing, tutoring, a few hours of consulting, even an extra $300 a month is $3,600 a year. And at this stage of the plan, that money goes straight to debt or investing because your system is already running. This month is also about closing the biggest expense leaks because income gains disappear fast if the leaks are still open. Housing is most likely your biggest expense. If you rent, research comparable units before your next lease renewal and negotiate. Landlords would often rather keep a reliable tenant at a slightly lower rate than deal with vacancy. If you own, look at whether refinancing makes sense at current rates. Your car is probably the second biggest. Think carefully about whether you actually need to upgrade, whether your insurance is still competitive. A quick comparison call can save hundreds annually, and whether keeping your current car another 2 or 3 years beats a new monthly payment. Then go through your recurring bills. Call the retention departments of anything you are considering canceling. Tell them you are thinking of leaving. Discounts appear more often than you would expect. And look through recent statements for fees, overdraft fees, late fees, annual charges, maintenance fees. Call and ask for them to be waived. A 5-minute call that starts with, I noticed a fee on my account and I would like to have it removed, works more often than most people think. One income move this week, one expense negotiation this month. Small moves on both sides start compounding faster than most people expect. Now, the final piece, making sure none of this depends on you remembering to do it every single month. Month 6. Make your money move without you. Think about the last time you felt genuinely motivated to fix your finances. How long did that motivation last? For most people, a few weeks, maybe a month. Then real life showed up and it quietly disappeared. That is not a character flaw. Motivation is a feeling. Feelings are temporary. A financial plan that depends on you feeling motivated every single month will fail the first Tuesday in October when you are tired. And the last thing on your mind is your Roth IRA contribution. Month 6 fixes that. Not with more willpower, with automation. Your paycheck lands in your checking account. Within the first few days, money flows automatically where it needs to go. Your 401k handled through payroll. Your Roth IRA contribution transferring automatically. Your savings account still building toward that 3 to 6 month target. Debt payments running on schedule. Credit card auto paying the full balance every month. Bills on direct debit. All of it handled before you even look at your account. What is left after all of that is actually yours. Spend it without guilt. Everything important is already taken care of. Open a separate account purely for guilt free spending. Load it at the start of the month. When it is empty, it is empty. No tracking, no spreadsheet, no guilt. That is budgeting without the misery. Once a month, put it in your calendar right now. Sit down for 1 hour and check in. Look at what moved, adjust what needs adjusting. That 1 hour keeps the whole system honest. One more thing, and this is for those of you managing money with a partner. The automation handles the mechanics, but money in a relationship also needs conversation. Once a month, sit down together, no spreadsheet, no agenda that feels like a performance review, just a conversation. What went well this month? What each of you wants to save toward next? What is stressing one of you out that the other does not know about yet? These conversations, brief, regular, low pressure, are what keep two people building in the same direction instead of quietly pulling against each other without realizing it. And every 6 months, do a bigger review. Is the plan still aligned with what you actually want? Has your income changed? Have your priorities shifted? Update it, adjust the automation, and let it run again. 6 months ago, we said your financial life could look completely different. You could know exactly where your money's going, build real wealth, make decisions without that low-level money anxiety that follows most people everywhere. That was the promise. Nothing in this plan is complicated. None of it requires a special income or a perfect starting point. It just requires that you actually start and that you keep going when the motivation fades, which it will. The system you just built is designed for exactly that moment. Do not be the person who watches this and says, "That was good. I will start someday." Someday is not on the calendar. Today is. Thank you for watching. If this helped, subscribe.